All right, let's get into it. Here's some news. Stephen Lighthill is stepping down as president of the ASC. The new president is gonna be Shelley Johnson, who shot the first Captain America, Greyhound, Training Days, and a bunch of other films. Here's a Shotcraft article by Jay Hoban. It's about shooting motion picture negative with a still camera. And basically, motion picture films runs at 24 frames per second, so that's about 90 feet per minute. But a row of 36 exposure of the same still photography film is only about 5.5 feet long. So a short end of 50 feet of motion picture film could become 8 to 9 rows of still photography film, which would otherwise just be wasted. It's very useful because you can take film stills on scouts or test the film stock before you shoot it with a very low cost, or just get a different look for day-to-day still photography because you can't normally buy these films off the shelf. The only difference is motion picture film has an extra layer called ramjet, which is basically a black layer in the back of the film to prevent static buildup from the pressure plate and also eliminates the light reflection, which causes halation. So you have to remove it before you develop the film in the regular C41 process. You can do it pretty easily with hot water and some baking soda. There are a lot of videos on YouTube on how you can do this, and this is something that I definitely want to try myself. And here's an article about new technology in filmmaking. It's called NeRF modeling. Basically, it's a fancy way to scan the environment with still photography, and you can have a 3D model created in post where you can put the camera anywhere you want and do any move you want. They mentioned this ad from the McDonald's, so let's see what they did with this.
Growing up, I always loved spending Lunar New Year with my family. I draw and imagine the zodiac animals coming to life.
Okay.
As technology got
Pretty cool.
better, my
So
imagination...
how they did this is they had a red monstro on the Steadicam and basically circled around the talent sitting still and got every angle of the space. Then they created a 3D model and did a otherwise would be an impossible move with a virtual camera in that space. I actually see this being more useful for previs, more so than the actual shoot at this point, because the ad still looks kind of fake to me. But it would be very nice to have like a scan of the 3D space you'll be shooting, because you can relight the space, animate the talent and camera to basically have a very close version of what you're gonna get on the day. And maybe they can also do these scans of famous landmarks and then sell them like stock footage, except you can do any move you want and also relight the space however you want. So you're not confined to the weather or the lighting condition on that particular day. Just an idea. And they have this article about how they shot Flaming Hot, which is a film about spicy Cheetos. The DP is Federico Cantini. They shot the film with a mixture of formats, but she chose the Sony Venice for the camera because of the versatility. Their inspiration are the Scorsese films with fast-paced voiceovers and different time periods. Since they're telling the story in different time periods, they shot different formats and lenses for each time period, and also had custom pre-made LUTs that was inspired by the film stock in that era. The main character is Richard. For his childhood in the 60s, the DP used JDC X-Style Express anamorphic lenses because she liked the edge fall off and the creamy softness of the lens. And she also used Canon K35s for the 70s time period. And they kept the K35s for everything in Richard's house, but switched to custom-tuned Panavision Panspeed large format lenses for the factory scenes, because they want the larger than life large format look. And they also had two Panavision Primo zooms that are also custom to the same look. And for the camera movement, they only shot handheld for the time period when the main character is involved with gangs, but everything else are on dollies and Steadicam. For the factory scenes, they initially framed Richard to be very small in the space, but as the story progresses, he became bigger and almost has like a presence to move the camera as he gets more powerful and respect. And lighting wise, the gaffer replaced 2,500 fluorescent tubes in the factory and replaced them with daylight balance tubes. And the practicals are 3,200 Kelvin with some gold gel from Roscoe. And they also had 3 12 x solids on the floor to control the spill and get more contrast that way. The key grip also made individual diffusers with magnets so that he can quickly diffuse the tubes that are above the actors so that you don't get like harsh raccoon eyes. And for the key light, it's 2 SkyPanel 360s going through 12 by quarter grid and 4 floppies to control the spill. For lights outside the factory window, they had 2 18Ks on condors with quarter CTOs to emulate the sunlight. And then for Richard's home, you can see a lighting plot here. The sun is an M90 with the quarter CTO going through an opal and half grid. And also they have another light here bouncing into the unbleached muds for more warm ambient level going through the windows. And you can notice it here, the shears are not completely closed because if you want enough level hitting on the actor here and here, the shear will be completely overexposed if you do that because there's just so much level. You can see it here, it's pretty much clipped. Say if you don't want to see outside, it's like a standing set and you have to close the shears and you don't want it to overexpose, you have to like put a light above the window and push it from inside the room. That's pretty much the only way you can do it. But that will limit the angle you can shoot and it's harder to rig. And then next is a tribute article to Owen Roizman, ASC. He shot The French Connection, The Exorcist, and he got 5 Oscar nominations for Best Cinematography. It talks about how he came up the ranks from his early days. So he became a camera assistant initially just to make money. And he worked at a camera rental house to learn about all the equipment. He worked pretty hard and became assistant for Hirschfeld. And Gordon Willis was Hirschfeld's camera operator, but he quit halfway through a show he was doing because he wants to shoot. So Owen moved up to the camera operator position. He also pioneered in some lighting approaches in cinematography because at that time he was shooting commercials and all the commercials were shot with hard lights and strong backlights. But Owen liked the single source soft light look, which was inspired by the still photographers at that time. And this was a new lighting approach and nobody's really done it. So there was a lot of pushback because on the set the lighting looks very flat. And using soft lights back then also meant you have to use tremendous amounts of light because if you diffuse the light, you lose a lot of it. And the film stock at that time was 50 ASA. That's like 4 stops slower than what we have right now. So you can imagine the amount of light he was using on set. So the last part of the magazine shows some still photographs taken by the ASC members. And here are some of my favorites from the landscape photographs. They also have 5 members talk about their approach to taking stills, which are all very different. They use all kinds of different cameras for different purposes, from Leica film cameras to point and shoots and even iPhones. So the best camera is the one you have. My favorite photo is probably this one from Mandy Walker. I just love the contrast and the motion blur of the film. You can just feel the energy. Alright, that's it for this issue of the magazine. I break it down so you don't have to read it, but I still recommend giving it a read if you find some of these topics interesting because you'll always find something new. And please subscribe if you learn something or find this entertaining, and I will keep doing it. Alright, bye.